following on from our previous video, which was not controversial in the slightest, in this video we're going to be talking about rip-off add-ons for the new Microsoft Flight Simulator. And in the process, I'm also going to go over some of the comments and points raised from our previous video. Let's get going. Welcome back to the Gamer Muscle YouTube channel. Click that like button and subscribe if you enjoy simulator content. So, as you can see, we are flying towards London, and yes, we are using the London City add-on for the buildings, the ORBX London City add-on, which I personally quite like. So, before we talk about the rip-off add-ons conversation, the exploitation of new flight simmers and profiteering, before we talk about that, let's first address the questions that were raised in the previous, about the previous video, which weirdly, on my channel, I think it's the most disliked video, or, well, probably not the most disliked, but for a bloody add-on, a little quick review of an add-on, which I like the add-on. I've never had so many accusations of shillery thrown at me. Ironically, I never get accused of being a shill when I'm actually shilling, because I tell people when I'm shilling, I say I'm shilling, and weirdly, it's like I've never been accused of shilling Microsoft Flight Simulator, despite Microsoft flew me to Seattle. A tea-drinking idiot Brit, they flew me to Seattle, put me up in a 5-star hotel, and let me play the simulator early. And I had a week's holiday in Seattle. That was because I rearranged the flight, so it wasn't because Microsoft paid for that. But if you're going to accuse me of shilling, accuse me of shilling the flight simulator. Microsoft proper treated me. I was even in the spa in the jacuzzi in the hotel. It was bloody amazing. But so this add-on, right? Okay, so I think there were some legit comments raised about the True Earth City stuff. First of all, the textures on the True Earth buildings aren't the highest resolution textures. If you get right up next to the buildings, they look like PlayStation 2 quality textures in certain cases. Not all the buildings. I think the Shard, some of the skyscrapers like Walkie-Talkie and the Gherkin actually look okay, but some of the buildings, House of Parliament, Buckingham Palace, the textures clearly aren't that good, or high resolution, and they're clearly not as high resolution and as crisp or as advanced as the default Microsoft Flight Simulator buildings that are included in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So the Shard, House of Parliament, Tower Bridge, and Tower of London. But the point when I'm playing it now, and when I'm playing this, is that I'm flying. So the BT Tower here is one of the buildings that's being added in ORBX. When I'm playing a flight simulator, I'm flying. But loads of comments were like, "Oh, what? Can you stop and well, you didn't zoom up with the drone?" And you know, well, you can really. There's other reviewers that have looked at them and they're nowhere near as good. They look like N64 buildings. I'm sorry, mate, but have you played the N64 recently? Because N64 textures were lower res than that. But the point is, sure, the textures on that BT Tower are not as high resolution as maybe some of the ground building textures. I mean, to me, they actually do look as high resolution. But when you're flying and you're playing a flight simulator, I'm evaluating it from the aeroplane. I'm not evaluating it from the drone camera. I'm not walking on these buildings. I'm flying above them. So when I'm looking at content that's added to a simulator, I'm going to evaluate it from the perspective of flying, not from the perspective of walking. I get it. Like, I get the Microsoft Flight Simulator default assets that are there are high quality, and I totally agree. They should ideally remove the take out the ORBX assets for assets that already exist in Microsoft Flight Simulator, if that's possible. Okay, the House of Parliament. Okay, they are too dark there. That sticks out. That's fine. If you're nitpicking it like that, which I guess that's fine to do, so I don't really have a problem with that. But the point I'm making is that when I fly this before without the ORBX add-on, the London skyline doesn't look like the London skyline. As someone that's been to London, I've got family that live in London. I'm in London a lot. Without the ORBX add-on, the London skyline looks so little like the London skyline that it ruins immersion for me. even if you have the ORBX, even if you're like, oh, the ORBX models aren't high enough quality or whatever, or the textures aren't good enough, they are infinitely better than generic skyscraper type buildings. For me, as someone that really knows London, this stops the immersion breaking for me. So that's the crux of it. That it means when I fly from London Heathrow, London City, London Gatwick, or fly over London, I feel like, oh, I'm flying over London. I don't feel like I'm flying over some generic auto terrain. I think if you're American, or maybe you're not that familiar with London, or you're flying at really high altitudes, you know, the default stuff won't matter to you, and you'll be like, oh, it's this kind of shape of London. But the perspective I'm coming at it from is one of someone that really knows London really well, and someone that's flying at about, well, what's my height here? Underspeed. What's my height? 1,500 foot, okay? That's kind of the height that I would be flying around a city. I mean, that's what I sort of default to. To me, I mean, that looks bloody good to me. Could it be better? Yes. Is that good enough to give the illusion of London to me? I mean, do those buildings look... I don't get that complaint, and I think the sort of drone camera look on the ground thing, yeah, the textures aren't maybe as good as the defaults, but it's the totality of it that's important. That's what I'm getting at. Anyway, that's my defence. That's my defence, Your Honour. But yeah, as I say earlier, I definitely think it'd be better if they didn't replace the default assets, because you paid for them in Microsoft Flight Sim, and those do have better shaders, or more advanced shaders and textures on them. So you know, might as well keep them. Another point brought up is that the ORBX London City assets are just recycled again from previous ORBX stuff. I don't disagree with that. They probably are. In fact, I mean, because I've been using ORBX with X-Plane 11, you know, yeah, they've probably recycled the assets. Personally, I don't care if it achieves the goal of making the city look like the city, and it's better than anything else I can get on the market at this point in time. I think that's the key thing. Should they maybe sell it for cheaper? I would like them to sell it for cheaper. In fact, before I actually did the video, I emailed ORBX and I asked them, I said, oh, are you going to do a discount code? Can you do a sale? I think people might be interested in buying it after I make the video. But they didn't reply to that email. So, I think things are better to be cheaper. If I'm making a video on something I enjoy, I want more people to be able to enjoy it and like it. So I normally hit up companies and ask them if they can do something, so it makes it cheaper for people that have watched the video. I want people to enjoy stuff as cheap as possible. You know, for a long time, I did not have much money at all. I mean, I'm not rich now, but I'm comfortable now. For a long time, I had absolutely diddly squat. So I totally appreciate how even £6 for this add-on can actually be a lot of money, especially if you've just bought equipment or you've just bought a new flight simulator. So on the objective value or pricing of the London assets, I mean, it's hard with costing of stuff to go, well, what's objectively the correct cost? Because I think £6, even though they're recycled assets, is £6 to get London to actually, from my perspective, as someone that knows London, to look like London, to have all the bridges there and whatever. I would like it to be higher quality. I would like them to sell it for cheaper, but I feel that £6 isn't too bad. And if you're coming to this new, it's kind of irrelevant to you that it's in X-Plane 11 or is being used in Microsoft, the previous Microsoft Flight Simulator. These assets could have been built for the PlayStation 2. I don't care. It's not relevant to when you're actually playing it. Does it perform its function? Yes or no? If it does, and then you're happy with £6, then that's it. Ah, dear. I don't get some of these comments in the... I mean, I understand specific points of comments, but I don't get weird accusations and complete ignoring of the context of what's being said. In my previous video, I was very clear in that you know, you might want to... Well, here we go, there's another point. You might want to not buy any add-ons for Microsoft Flight Simulator, because Microsoft Flight Simulator is an evolving product, and who knows, Microsoft might license photogrammetry terrain for London at some point in the future. Microsoft might even add buildings to it at some point in the future if they can't get photogrammetry. And with the user tools that are available, someone might release a free pack for London in the future, adding all the buildings that are in ORBX, if not better, for free potentially. That might all happen. I said that in the previous video. You might want to wait. It might turn up in the game. But right now, right this very second, if you're someone like me that typically flies out of London City Heathrow, there's no other way to get London to look like London. I don't see the problem. I think some people just want to be, I don't know. I think what I've noticed with this, with the flight sim community, more so than the driving sim community, it's pretty bad in the driving sim community. It's the worst in the mill sim community. But flight sim community is kind of in the middle. I don't mean all flight. I'm not painting all flight simmers with the same brush here. But there's definitely a propensity for a lot of flight simmers to there'll be something that disgruntles them, and then they latch onto that complete specific thing to a hyper detail, and then ignore all other perspectives and approaches and context to everything, just to hammer home that singular point that they really don't like. And it's something I'm guilty of. I mean, if force feedback's not got a good range to it in driving simulators, it drives me mental. It ruins the simulator for me. So I understand that mindset as well, but you have to kind of also remind yourself of, like, not everyone is coming from the exact same mindset, and there's just because one thing's terrible doesn't mean that everything's terrible, you know. But yeah, I mean look at that. That's the right. I'm zooming in here, so the gherkin. I mean, arguably, you could say that the building resolution could be a little bit high because you can see that, but it's got to run nicely. I mean, the gherkin, sorry, the walkie-talkie, the autogen buildings below don't look that much worse than the walkie-talkie and the and these other buildings that have been added. You look at the autogen stuff compared to the ORBX stuff. This is what I said in the other video. The point I was making about the Microsoft Flight Sim buildings sticking out and not being necessarily as good in some ways as the ORBX buildings is that the shard, for example, the default shard in Microsoft Flight Sim has really nice shaders on it. It's a really nice high-resolution model, but because it's so much nicer quality than the autogen models, it stands out, which then in some ways ruins the consistency of things and is immersion breaking. We're zooming on the Tower Tower of London. So again, I think the Tower of London building is all right. I mean, the ground textures could be a bit better. It's a little bit. They've obviously applied sharpening to these textures. Tower Bridge, it looks all right to me for what it is. I mean, okay, the downward drop onto the bridge is a bit harsh. Maybe they might line that up better. Sure, they could do a better job of it, but if you're flying from 1,500 foot or so normally over the city, maybe not in the case of the London Bridge, but in the case of most of the buildings, it makes it more immersive on average, more consistent on average. It looks more like London to me as someone that knows London. Oh dear, guys. So what else? I mean, I could go through comments here. This is going to be a great video. What are the comments? G4K5. This is the worst ORBX package that ever produced. Shockingly bad. Do not buy it. Before looking at reaction reviews clip where he tells the truth. Okay, so this is actually a good point. On YouTube, there's multiple channels where you can look at different content. I've not seen this reaction reviews video YouTube channel. Go and watch it. I imagine, based off the comments that I've got on this, is that he's looked at stuff up close and pointed out that it doesn't look as good up close as the default stuff. I don't disagree. Again, I'm flying in the air. I'm not looking at stuff up close, so it's not the most relevant comparison to me. But you know, if that's important to you, don't get it. You know, great. Watch other YouTube channels. I even said it in the previous video. Watch all. Like, make your mind up. Don't just listen to influencers. I said don't listen to influencers. Don't listen to reaction reviews. Don't listen to me. Look at the content in the individual videos. This applies to anything in life. And then make your decision based off that. Here we go. Jasper Firth. These textures are so bad, it looks like Flight Sim 2000. Maybe. I mean, to me, and we've already talked about the textures, the biggest thing in Microsoft Flight Simulator that makes it look convincing is the sort of global illumination, shading and lighting, more so than the individual building textures. If you've ever worked, done like 3D art and stuff, or worked in games, I mean, I've done assets for PlayStation 2 and Nintendo Wii professionally in the past. A lot of the time the textures on that can be shockingly bad. They can look god-awful, but it's how it fits into the scene and the light in the scene, how the light is baked to it and all the other stuff that actually makes it look good or not. Not necessarily the individual asset. I'm not defending the assets. I think they could look better in this. You know, it would have been nice if ORBX do a dedicated Microsoft Flight Sim assets. Why not polish them up? If they're going to make more money, then, you know, do that. So I'm not excusing ORBX for their texture work, but I'm explaining why it may or may not be the most important thing for it to, you know what I'm saying. Right, what else is there? Other comments. Can't believe you hadn't mentioned how bad the quality of the ORBX buildings are. Very, very bad. Big Ben House in Parliament, much, much worse. Well, we've already talked about that in this video. Textures are really bad. £6 a box of tea. Yeah, you know, I mean, a £6 box of tea is a good box of tea. Granted, that's probably the biggest call out there. You could get a really nice box of tea for £4 in the UK. Tea pigs, you can get like 20 tea bags, but they're like £4. They're technically the best tea you can get, arguably. I like Twinings though. £6 would get you a sort of 200 tea bags though, so that's where I'm coming from there. Totally biased, Emil Johnson. Totally biased review. This update has to be avoided. Thankfully, I saw another popular comparison. Scam update, total rip-off. Okay, so I don't think it's a scam. I think it's obviously ORBX are trying to make money out of people buying it with the launch of Microsoft Flight Sim. Obviously, there's not that much competition on the marketplace. There's nothing like the ORBX installer is really nice. It makes it nice and simple and easy to grab and download assets, get them in your sim, have them update, and work with minimal fiddling. As I say, I've used ORBX with X-Plane 11 for a long time. That's why I've used it. I've also used Ortho for XP. I've done a lot of tweaking and twiddling with X-Plane 11. But as a filthy idiot YouTuber now, I don't have time to fiddle around with games as much as I used to. It will cost me more money to fiddle around with games than it would to make the premium content that I make on this channel on a regular basis, you know? So I value automatic installers, even if that's a detriment to, even if the content might be slightly lower quality in some cases. As we're just flying over Canary Wharf again here. Well, here we go, what else? Textures are X-Plane level. Textures again. I feel like I've covered that enough. Unsubscribing Eric 3E. I don't know what his logo is. So, it's like a Viking, like a knight, like a Jorvik knight. That's cool. Unsubscribing, praising the scam. Look closely on the add-on building. Again, I've been through this. I have looked closely. We're now flying over Canada 1. We're flying over Canary Wharf. Literally load up the look at this by default, fly this as you would fly, and look at the ORBX stuff. This, I don't see how anyone could argue that this doesn't look a lot better than the default in any normal flying conditions. Okay, paid review. No, it wasn't a paid review. I say if it's on my channel, if it's a paid review, I will say it's a paid review. Legally, I have to. But also, I've done that. I will do that anyway, because why would I mislead people? If you produce arguably shitty content like me, all I have is my integrity. And just, well, you know, saying what I think things are. I mean, it might be wrong. You might disagree with it. But if you're dishonest on YouTube, it's like, well, you might as well close your channel down. So no, I wasn't paid by ORBX. As I said in the video, I have free access to this ORBX content and to Microsoft Flight Simulator. And as I said earlier, if anything, you should be skeptical of what I say at Microsoft Flight Sim, because they bloody flew me to America. And they took me out in and let me fly an aeroplane. as a sim fan, come on, if what's going to sway you? You know, yes, for future reference, though, if you're ever confused, the video, when it's a sponsored video, I will say, and it will come up with a little warning, and I'll put it in the comment section as well. So, there you go. Andrew Levy, the Gherkin and no mention. Have I got PPI.com? Andrew Levy lives across the river from the Gherkin. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers it. I want to bore you guys with me just ranting through comments. You're rough on my jimmies, boys. Yeah, so, I mean, at the end of the day, as I say, what you need to do for add-ons for Microsoft Flight Sim, bear in mind that Microsoft Flight Sim will probably get more add-ons. Might have free stuff. Microsoft going to keep updating it. Keep that in mind. I'll do a future video on Microsoft Flight Sim as a platform and how it's going to keep evolving, so I don't want to talk about it too much in this video. But yeah, if you look at the videos and you think it looks shite, don't buy it. Say in the comments, oh, it looks shite. By all means, point out that you think the textures look shite. You know, that's fine. I actually, you notice I don't delete, the only comments I delete on my channel are, I found my flaps down this whole flight. The only comments I delete on the channel are things that are sort of attacking people individually, or you know, like bot spamming, or just stuff that's like needlessly rude. I mean, I won't even delete rude comments. My view on comments is that if someone types something stupid, it makes them look stupid and it's on the internet forever, and so you know they're an idiot. I'm not really a big fan of censorship. So, you know, by all means, just type stuff in the comments, but just make sure you back it up with a fact that, and that you're making a good point of it, and then everyone's happy. You know, even if it's if something's contrary to what I've said, but it's true, and you've made a thing, I'm gonna highlight it. I like it when someone, if I've done or said something that's stupid, and you can point out why clearly, and I can adjust my view on it. I like that. You've done me a bloody favour. You've made me look better when I'm talking to other people that know more about something, because I won't say the stupid thing again. Oh, by the way, guys, this is London City. This is ORBX add-on London City. Just in case you're wondering why London City looks a lot better than the default. And, you know, I personally... Oh, hello, there's a plane on the runway there. Personally, I don't like buying add-on airports, because I find they do cost a lot of money for what they typically offer. Which is, again, what I said in that video. But, well, you know... Hopefully that answers the questions that you guys raised. I need to rebind some of my buttons. My brake's not working. Yeah. So I would definitely watch out for that. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of new add-ons and companies trying to make money out of the fact that there's not much on Marketplace at the moment. I mean, if... I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Like, if you can watch on YouTube, you can see what the buildings and content's like, and you can then make a decision if you want to spend your money on it or not. And the Marketplace is going to get better over time, and Microsoft are going to make the simulator better over time. I'm failing to see the issue. It's like, I get it. Back in like 2000s and previously, before there was like loads of YouTube covering stuff, and if something is literally like, you know, if something takes your card details and they keep billing you, or you literally don't get what is presented on the box, or that, you know, the marketing's an outright lie, I totally get that, and I'm really, you know, then there'd be a problem. But I'm not seeing any actual scamming going on here. But you know. Well, I mean, sorry for windbagging on, guys. You triggered, some of you triggered me in my sim rig. I'm sure this video will get even more comments. My sort of personal thing is, though, if I get comments that just accuse me of stuff, and they're not like accuse me of things, but if explain and have evidence and actually make a good, well-rounded argument. If you're going to accuse me of something, if you just willy-nilly accuse someone of something which is literally completely unfounded, well, the thing that it makes me do is I do YouTube videos for fun. I choose my content for fun. What I do on this channel is I present stuff that I find that I personally am really enjoying. There's loads of games I could be covering on this channel for pure view numbers, and loads of things I could be doing for pure view numbers and for making more money. I do this for fun, and it happens to be that a lot of people enjoy what I do, and that's why it's worked out. So if I'm going to just get like random criticism and stuff and accusations, it just makes me go, well, you know what? That's not fun. I'll play it by myself and I won't make a video on it. you know, it's like, I'll just play something else without videoing it. I'll play it without videoing it. But, you know, hopefully that explains everything. Bloody 25 minutes. 25 minutes. I will have some more proper decent content soon. And we're going to check out some more locations, I think. So click that like button and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Really appreciate those of you that do enjoy the content. As I said, I appreciate people that are critical, but not people that are just going to say stuff that's unfounded. But keep saying stuff that's unfounded, because the whole point of YouTube is to give everyone a mental breakdown. I'm going to leave you guys with a nice advert here. This video is sponsored by the 3DFX Voodoo 2 graphics card. 8 megabytes of RAM, 100 megahertz of processing power, 800 by 600 maximum supported resolution, SLI for double the speed. Your PC won't ever need more power. The Voodoo 2. No longer.